Okay, so welcome to another deep dive, where we like to kind of cut through all the noise
Uh-huh.
and get right to the good stuff,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And today we're going to be looking at something I think that's pretty significant,
Mm.
for folks out there who
Okay.
are thinking about the future of communities,
Yeah.
how they're run, how decisions are made, and
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be really interesting for investors in particular
Okay.
who see a lot of potential in open source solutions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because today we're going to be diving deep into how
Okay.
Web3 DAOs
Oh, yeah.
and even AI
Oh,
are all kind of converging
yeah.
to change how we manage, our cities and towns.
I like it.
And, we're going to really be focusing on like the actual real world applications that we're seeing with platforms like Decidem.
You got it.
Um,
Yeah, you put together a really thought-provoking series on Web3, I thought.
oh, thanks.
And one of the things that became so clear just going through all that material is that these decentralized technologies, they're not just like theories anymore.
Right.
They're like giving us the building blocks to actually make change happen?
Yeah.
So what we want to do today is unpack how these advancements in tech,
Okay.
especially when you combine them with open source platforms
Yeah.
like Decidem, are leading to like
Right.
way more transparent decision making and deeper citizen engagement.
I like it.
And in the end, more efficient government at the local level.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's so important to emphasize that, like,
Yeah.
we're focusing on these like fundamental shifts
Mm.
in how communities actually operate.
Absolutely.
Not on these
Right.
fleeting trends that kind of come and go.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not talking about the metaverse or anything.
Yeah, we're not
like
going to be talking about
Yeah,
bored apes or anything like that.
exactly right.
This is about like real
Yeah.
systems change.
Yeah, absolutely fundamental stuff.
And I think a really key player in all of this is Decidem. For those of you who may not have heard of it before,
Uh-huh.
Decidem is a free, libre, open, and secure digital platform
Okay.
for empowering citizens to participate with real democratic safeguards in place.
Right.
It's basically like re-engineering democracy
I love
for the
that.
digital age.
Yeah,
And, making it open source is a really core part of that.
absolutely. And what I think is really fascinating here, speaking to the investor who's interested in open source,
Yeah.
is just how much Decidem can actually do.
Okay.
It's not just like one little tool, it's a whole toolkit
Mm-hmm.
that can handle everything from high-level strategic planning where the community has input,
Okay.
all the way to like managing a participatory budget from the ground up.
Oh, wow.
So you've got features for organizing citizen assemblies,
Right.
launching local initiatives, consultations,
Uh-huh.
and then they've got all these really solid communication tools to keep everybody informed and connected.
So this is a lot more than just like
Way more.
online surveys or,
Yeah, oh yeah.
just basic feedback mechanisms.
Exactly. Yeah. This
Not
is
my own
like,
kid's the real deal.
yeah, Decidem is built to help citizens organizations, even public institutions,
No.
to really self-organize democratically
Right.
at every level. And what's key here
Yeah.
is that it can implement a truly flexible democratic system.
Right.
So whether you're talking about like a small neighborhood association
Uh-huh.
or a huge metropolitan council,
Yeah.
the platform can be tailored to support their specific needs and processes.
That adaptability, I mean, that just seems so valuable.
It is.
And for investors who are really focused on open source,
Mhm.
I mean, the principles behind Decidem have got to be like a huge draw.
Absolutely. Yeah. The platform puts such a high value on transparency
Okay.
and traceability and making sure that all the information is accurate and trustworthy.
Uh-huh.
Every action, every proposal, every single vote is recorded
Right.
in a way that creates a clear and auditable trail. And then on top of that, security, privacy, and confidentiality for everybody who participates,
Yeah.
those are like paramount.
Right.
This isn't about some proprietary algorithm that's hidden from view.
Right.
It's about open and verifiable processes that actually build trust,
Right.
What?
And it's built on free software,
Yes.
right?
Yes, exactly.
That whole spirit of openness and collaboration, I mean, that seems like
It's at the core.
it's so central.
Yeah, it's developed using free and open source software, and all the content is open and collaborative too, thanks to the Decidem community and that community-driven development model.
Yeah.
That's like the heart of open source.
Right.
It means that the platform is always being improved and adapted
Okay.
and refined by the very people who are using it and contributing to it. you know.
That's so cool.
So for investors who prioritize sustainability
Yeah.
and projects that are really backed by the community, this is a huge plus.
Okay, so we've got this really robust open source platform.
We do.
Now let's look at how it's actually being used to improve municipal management in the real world.
Yeah,
You mentioned some great real-world examples.
I did.
Let's start with Mérida, Yucatan in Mexico.
Okay, Merit is a really interesting case study.
Okay.
They implemented Decidem. They called it Decide Mérida for their 2018-2021 Municipal Development Plan.
Okay.
And the results are really something. They had over 3,000
Wow.
distinct citizen interactions,
Oh, yeah.
including proposals, comments, suggestions,
Okay.
and expressions of support,
Wow.
all directly shaping a development plan that achieved a really high level of consensus in the community.
So it's not just the sheer number of interactions.
It's not just the number.
It's that citizens were like
Right.
directly shaping their city's development plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is a huge shift from, top-down decision-making to a more collaborative approach.
Yeah, that level of engagement is just incredible.
It is?
We even have a quote here from Renan A. Barrera Concha, the municipal president, who said that Decide Mérida offered an opportunity to open up citizen participation like never before,
I love that.
and that they were going to keep using it to make Mérida an increasingly participative society.
Wow.
I mean, that's a powerful statement.
It really is, yeah. It highlights how a platform like Decidem can help create a more inclusive
Yeah,
and representative decision-making environment.
absolutely. Now let's switch gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about the NYC Civic Engagement Commission here in the U.S.
Oh, right.
Francisco Tena, from Pipeline to Power, highlights something really interesting about Decidem.
Yeah.
He points out its flexible information architecture.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
What's so important about that flexibility?
So he emphasizes that the platform separates the basic steps of a participatory process from the specific activities that happen within those steps. Now, that might sound a little technical, but think of it like building with Lego bricks,
I like it.
The steps are like the big goals, like, let's say, creating a new community garden.
Right.
The activities are the specific things you do to get there,
Okay.
like public brainstorming sessions, design workshops,
Right.
voting on where the garden should go. Decidem lets you arrange these building blocks in whatever order.
Okay.
And combination makes sense for your community and your project.
Yeah.
It doesn't force you into some rigid structure.
That makes a lot of sense. You want a system that can adapt
Exactly.
to the needs of different communities.
You got it.
Not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now let's look at some energy.
Okay.
This example from the renewable energy sector. I think it's really interesting because it shows how Decidem can be used in all kinds of ways.
It does, yeah. Some Energia is a renewable energy cooperative.
Okay.
They've been using Decidem since 2018.
Wow.
And they're a great example of how versatile the platform is.
Okay.
It's not just for government.
Right.
They've used it for their general assemblies, debates about their imagery design,
Okay.
and even for developing their educational initiatives, their school.
That's really cool. What kind of participation have they seen within their cooperative?
So Yaisa Blanche from Some Energia, she says that in just a few years, they've had over 3,500 people participate.
Wow.
Across 5 different participatory processes and 3 ongoing operating assemblies.
That's amazing.
And in their last General Assembly vote alone, they had over 1,300 individual votes.
That's a huge number.
It is.
She even said that Decidem has helped them create a kinder space for participation.
Oh, yeah. I love that quote.
It really does kind of suggest a more welcoming
It does.
and constructive atmosphere
Yeah, absolutely.
for people to get involved. And these aren't just isolated cases, right?
No, not at all. In fact, our source material says that hundreds of organizations worldwide are using Decidem to manage their democratic processes.
That's amazing.
So it's really getting global recognition.
Yeah.
And people see the value in this open source solution.
Right. And it's important to note that Decidem isn't just standing still, right?
It's not.
It's constantly being improved and updated.
Yeah, the Decidem Revamp Project, which got some really important support from the NGI Zero Commons Fund. That's a big step forward for the platform as of February 2025.
Yeah.
They've been focusing on consolidating all the platform's features and making it work better overall and improving the user experience.
So this continuous development I mean, that's a major advantage of open source.
It is, yeah. It's always being refined.
Right.
And adapted based on what users need and how technology is changing.
Right. And there's also a big partnership in the works with the Brazilian government.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Which is huge validation for the platform.
It is, yeah. In December 2024, the Decidem Association and the Brazilian government, they formalized their collaboration with a memorandum of understanding.
Wow.
Now, we don't have all the details yet on how they're going to implement it, but this shows a real commitment at a national level to exploring and implementing these collaborative frameworks for citizen participation.
That's incredible.
And Decidem will probably play a big role in that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we're seeing this really interesting convergence.
Yeah.
You know, we have the core principles of Web3, decentralization, transparency, security.
Right.
And the potential of DAOs to make governance more community-driven.
Yeah.
And then you add in a really solid and adaptable platform like Decidem, which gives you the tools and the framework.
Yeah.
It's like we have this incredibly powerful combination to change how our towns and cities are run.
Right. And for investors who are really into open source, this is a really exciting area.
Right. This is more than just theory.
Way more.
These are real-world applications that are already showing us what's possible.
Exactly.
When you have more citizen engagement and governance that's more transparent and efficient.
Yeah. By investing in and supporting these open source solutions that embrace the principles of Web3.
Yeah.
Investors are essentially backing technologies that give power to communities from the ground up and foster more democratic processes.
It feels like a real shift away from those more traditional, often centralized models of local governance.
Right. These decentralized technologies, they offer the potential for solutions that are more resilient and truly driven by the community.
So this raises a really important question for you, our listener.
Yeah.
How might this increasing transparency and citizen control in local government, facilitated by platforms like Decidem, underpinned by these Web3 technologies, how might that fundamentally reshape the relationship?
That's the question.
Between cities and towns and the people they serve, and what new opportunities for investment and community development might emerge as we move toward a more decentralized and participatory future.
That's something to think about.
Yeah. It's definitely something to consider.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this deep dive.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks.
We'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Community Agents AI podcast. Stay tuned to explore how AI is reshaping the way we connect and collaborate with practical tips you can apply in your own community initiatives. Whether you're a tech enthusiast, community leader, or just curious about AI, there's something here for you. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and join the conversation on our social learning website. Let's harness the power of AI to build stronger, more vibrant communities together.